Hey y'all, I'm Jordan, and it's time for another Armstrong Antlers and Anglers fishing tip. Let's go get bit. There he is. We all know that topwater is undoubtedly one of the best ways to catch fish, but when's the best time to use it, or what's the best techniques to use? Well, today, that's what we're diving into. So in this episode, we're going to talk about time of year, water conditions. We're going to talk about the different rod and reel setups and the different techniques that I like to use throughout the year, like the whopper plopper, the buzz bait, walking baits, and frogs. And we're going to dive into all the tips and hints that will help you hook up with more bass this year. So let's go fishing. Okay, y'all. So before we go ripping lips with some topwater baits, we got to go into a High River Outdoors here and get all the proper setup, right? So we need a rod, a reel, some line, and a few different baits. Let's go check it out. Now that we're in the bait store, obviously the first thing we're going to need for any topwater setup is a good, reliable rod. For today, I'm going to try to find a rod that is universal. Work great for buzz bait, frog, popper, walking bait, all the above. So it's not going to be specific towards any one application, but it'll be a good universal rod for you to pick up, put in your tackle box. This one right here. So we're going to go with the 7'4", moderate fast, medium heavy. Let's just put it back here. This is a universal setup. I want to go with a little bit higher speed reel than what I would like for a buzz bait, but whenever you're throwing a frog or a popper or a walking bait, since you're moving it slow and all the work is actually in the rod tip, you need a high speed reel to be able to retrieve it really fast back to you whenever you get a hook set, right? Going with this one. So for the reel, since I'm going with, like I said, a universal setup, we're going with the Lose Mach 2, 7.5 to 1. It's a little bit faster than what I would like for a buzz bait alone, but like I said just a little bit ago, whenever it comes to the other applications that we're going to be using, you want a higher speed reel to be able to retrieve that fish back to you as quick as possible for a couple of different reasons. One, like I said, all your action with any kind of walking or popping bait is in your rod tip and how quick you move it back to you. Secondly, a lot of times whenever you're fishing topwater, especially with a frog, the fish can get you bound up in a lot of stuff really quick. So the quicker you're able to get that line back to you, the less time you're going to give that fish to get bound up in a bunch of other stuff. So, rod, reel, let's get some line. Okay, so when you're fishing any type of topwater, the two types of line you're going to pick is either braid or monofilament. I preferably am a monofilament person because of the added stretch that it has, whereas braid doesn't have any give in it at all. It's a lot easier to pull the bait away from the fish. Whenever it comes to a good universal, monofilament 14-pound test works great for almost all the applications. Now, typically, whenever I'm fishing like a buzz bait or a frog, I would want something, with a higher pound test, especially because of some of the stuff that you're fishing around. If you're looking for a good universal application line, 14-pound test will work absolutely amazing. Now it's time to pick out the baits. So we all know that capitalizing on key moments in bass fishing is absolutely essential for success, just like in business. So check out this Armstrong Business Solutions key moment where we zoned in on the exact pattern that these smallmouth were feeding on that led to an absolutely amazing experience. Check it out. Oh, there he is. Net, please. He's trying to be a little bit bigger every second. Boys and girls, a flatworm. Okay, y'all, so we went through the store. We got our universal rod and reel setup ready. We got our line ready. And we have 4 different types of topwater baits in front of us. We have a whopper plopper, a walking bait, a buzz bait, and a frog. There's also popping baits out there, which I'll show you some on the water footage of here in a little bit. First thing I want to show you is how I like to set up one of these whopper ploppers. There is a little trick that I think everybody should know whenever it comes to using a whopper plopper, and I'll show you while we're tying it on. So that's how I like to set up a whopper plopper. And you'll notice the barrel swivel, it's in there because it prevents the line twist from happening whenever you're casting and retrieving that bait that has all the action in the back of it. The next bait I want to show you all how I like to rig up is a buzz bait. Finally, the last 2 baits I want to show you all how I hook up is a walking bait and a frog. Hey y'all, it's that part in the show where we're going to take a break and you're going to join me and Jan Dill's attorney at law in saying thank you to the veterans who've made our freedom possible. This week, I'd like you to join me and Jan Dills in remembering Lieutenant Michael Murphy, a United States Navy SEAL who fearlessly gave his life in June of 2005 during Operation Redwood. On a mission driven by a 4-man Navy SEAL team who had their location compromised by the Taliban, which left them stuck in a firefight outnumbered 40-4. During this firefight, Lieutenant Michael Murphy fearlessly made his way into enemy territory to make comms to get an extraction set up for his teammates. Thank you, Lieutenant Michael Murphy, for fearlessly giving your life not only for your country, but for your teammates. Okay, folks, so we're finally in the Seven Rivers Marine Battlebird. We're on the water. We're ready to go fishing. We're going to go over all the techniques I've been talking to you about in this video. But let's start off with the buzzbait. It's honestly one of the best ways to cover water whenever you're at a new body of water. Early fall, early fall. It's a great bait all around. It'll get you big bites. It's a very simple cast and retrieve kind of bait. Man, it is beautiful out here today. Absolutely beautiful. God has blessed us with a good day. So, when you're throwing a buzz bait, keep your rod around 10 o'clock. Just do a nice, slow, steady retrieve back to you. Don't be scared to throw it in your isolated cover. A buzz bait's really weedless. It's not going to get snagged up nearly as much as you think it would having that exposed hook. Also, with a buzz bait, as I mentioned in the bait shop, a trailer is always necessary. And one of these little grubs works great for a buzzbait trailer. So when you're fishing a buzzbait, right, do a straight retrieve, nice and slow. It doesn't hurt to throw a sudden pop or two in there on your retrieve to try to get that necessary reaction bite out of the fish. Because whenever you're fishing with a buzzbait or a crankbait, or really any fast, aggressive moving baits, you're looking mostly for that reaction bite, right? So they might not be actively feeding as much as they are just being aggressive towards the bait that's in their territory. So whenever you give it a sudden pop or a hop or a jerk twist, whatever you want to do, it can sometimes trigger that reaction bite, and it'll really help you get a lot more hookups. So, see, look at that. You can just bring it right over isolated cover. No problem whatsoever. It came right over that little limb. You'd be surprised what a buzzbait can go through and not get hung up in. See, it can even go over that log, no problem. When you're throwing a buzzbait, you can either do it the way I'm doing now, or you're just going straight to the bank and back to you over isolated cover, or you can parallel the bank and try to stay in that strike zone a little bit longer. See, I know you guys can't really see this on the camera, but there's a grass mat underneath the water right here. Even a little bit of grass sticking up at this buzz bait. Where a lot of your other like walking baits or poppers, they have those exposed hooks will get snagged up in that stuff. See, just parallel up to the bank. See, it just comes right over that grass. This top water bait we're going to talk about is good for making noise and covering water, just like the buzz bait, but it's not as good near close isolated cover. It's really good when you're in open water because of those exposed hooks. But the Chopo, Whopper Plopper, whatever you want to call it, these baits are an absolute blast to throw, and they can lead to some of your bigger hookups. So, right, it can either be one, it stays afloat easy, so you don't have to reload as fast. You can reel it nice and slow. One of the most basic retrieves you can do with this bait is just a straight retrieve back like you do with a buzz bait. But since it doesn't sink, you can stop it. You can just pop it like you would a walking bait, but with a little bit more action to it. So extremely versatile topwater bait. Maybe if those walking baits are getting a little bit of bites, but not enough, there's a lot more fish in the area, you're trying to grab more attention, you can use this just like a walking bait. It gets just a little bit more attention. See, you can do the pop, pop, stop, or you can just do a straight retrieve. You can go way slower than you can with the buzz bait. Like I said, it's a great bait for covering water because you can move quick with it, just like you can a buzz bait. It's really effective for catching big fish. You don't have to move quick with it, so it can stay in the strike zone so much longer. Out there that are listening, watching this show, if you're fighting with a VA, I'll tell you what, Jan Dills has done wonders for me. They're my personal attorney. They exclusively handle veterans, VA affairs, Social Security claims. They have fought nonstop for me with the VA. It's been a really painless process. They're a really big firm, so they have a lot of the necessary resources that you might not get from the other places, and they give back to the veteran community, so they're not just out here trying to palm money off of us. I highly recommend Jan Dills to anybody. They first time through got me 80%, no problem for the VA, and we're about to win my battle for that 100%. So anybody out there struggling with the VA, or if you know anybody struggling with the VA, I highly recommend Jan Dills. And show you guys how I work a popper through the water. Honestly, whenever the buzzbait's not working or the Chopo's not working, a popper or a walking bait is absolutely lethal, especially in the summertime, especially when there's no overcast, the water's not choppy. Pull out a walking bait or a popper bait like this one here, or even a frog. Those work great. So we're still in this open water bar, the banana bar as we call it. Wind's picking up a little bit. Bite might pick up a little bit. Honestly, top water's not been a big thing, but I really wanted to show you guys this video, show you guys how I like to work top water baits. So, just going to cast it out there. Now for this, just let it sit. If you let it sit for a second, it's a couple pop, pop, stop, pop, pop, stop, pop, pop, stop, pop, stop, pop, pop, stop, pop, pop, stop, 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 stop. You can do 3 pops. You have to mess around with it a little bit. Sometimes it's a pop, pop, pause that works real good. Sometimes it's 3 pops, real long stops. You have to find the cadence for the day. You also really want to try to get that bait popping through the water, making that big loud popping noise. Tell you what, that Seven Rivers Marine Battlebird really looks sharp today. Shines up with this wrap. Sinorama hooked us up with. Speaking of which, if you're looking for that new boat, pontoon boat, pleasure boat of any type, glass, aluminum, Seven Rivers Marine, Coolville, Ohio, they have it all. And they have the best mechanics in town. And finally, we're going to talk about one of the most classic topwater baits there is, and that's the walking bait. Almost the finesse tactic of topwater. It's more quiet, it's more subtle, it's slow. It's great on offshore rock piles like we're on now, or it's great on points. It's really good anywhere in 10 foot or less of water. A walking bait is a really good way to slow down and still target fish with that topwater bite. So same thing here, just like we did with the popper. It's still going to be pop, pop, pause, or it's going to be a consistent. The one thing you can do different with this that you don't do with the popper is really walk it. Just a sudden, you're just a consistent pop, 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 pop. So let's show you how I like to work one of these things. So just send it out there and just pop. Then I'll just let it pause for a second. Pop, 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 pop. You just see it walking out there. Just getting that real good cadence. Just keep walking it. Got you got the strike zone. No need to waste any time. Just pop, pop. See how I'm walking it nice and slow, and it's getting that big, wide walking action. Keep a little bit of slack in it. That's how you really make it walk. You don't want to tight line it. You can even speed it up a little bit. Get that nice walking action out of it. Or you can tighten it up a little bit. Walk a little bit faster. Okay, y'all, so as you can tell, the bass weren't tearing up the topwater today at North Bend, which is no big deal. That's why they call it fishing, not catching. But we're going to end today's episode with some catches anyways. Let's check out this Armstrong Antlers and Anglers nonstop fishing. Check it out. I am shook up, boys and girls. Look at this. Look at this mother fricker right here. Look at him. Up close and personal. I don't even have my scales, but he's freaking huge. Oh. 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 Finally, I think I'm getting onto something here. This one's not quite as big as the last one, but he's still fish. Okay, y'all, so I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you're watching this and you enjoyed it, I really hope you tune in next week. We'd love to have you all again. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you're hitting that like and subscribe button. We'll see y'all next time. Tight line.